Good morning. You heard Art Benjamin talk about Fibonacci numbers, and he was saying, well, if you love Fibonacci numbers. So how cool is it that my room number is F1 through F4? I thought that was pretty nice. And I need to know when the next G4, I need to know when G4G15 is so I can get room 1235. None of you wise guys at this table better jump ahead of me on that. Okay, so that has nothing to do with my talk, so I probably just lost $1. My talk is on 15, you're supposed to laugh at that. My talk is on 15 meter stamps for a G4G15. A disclaimer, if you look at your hard copy schedule, you'll see that I was the last scheduled talk. The organizers wanted to make sure that there was no way you would think that they were saving the best for last, so they moved me up a few notches. My inspiration for this was Martin's sixth book, chapter 23, O'Gara, the Mathematical Mailman. At G4G12, I gave a talk on mathematical philately, basically mathematical stamp collecting, and it was in my guise of O'Gara's son Clancy. Today I'm going to talk about something new, but first another disclaimer, and I'll give you a few seconds to read through that disclaimer. Okay, so I'll read it to you. You know, these two folks are on a date, and the guy says, yes, stamp collecting can be very rewarding, and the woman is like, ah! You know, help, my date is talking about stamps. And, you know, everyone is consoling her. There, dear, you can sit at our table, oh, thank you. And then, you know, the waiter tries to console the guy, and the waiter says, I collect bottle caps, and the result is, oh, shut up. So that's disclaimer number 2. So what is a meter stamp? So we're all familiar with postage stamps. This happens to be a postage stamp that came out last year. It's celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Serbian Mathematical Society. But what some of us may not be familiar with meter stamps, although we see them all the time. Meter stamps are things that look like this, that actually go through a meter, so you don't have a physical stamp put on it. These are either printed out in strips, or you can put a letter right through. So these are just some examples of meter strips. So the first two that I showed, one was a proof of the Pythagorean theorem. The second one was an impossible object. On this third one, it's kind of faint, but you can see Borromean rings. And these last two, you see an icosahedron, and then you see the binary representation of the first 3 binary places. I was going to say binary decimal places, but that doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm showing you how many meter stamps today? This is G4G. 15. And how many have I showed you so far? 4. Okay, let's try that again. How many have I showed you so far? 5. So how many more do I have to show you? Well, that's wrong, because I actually showed these at G4G12, so now I'm going to show you 15 new ones that those of you who were there haven't seen. So here we go. Number 1, this is commemorating the 30th International Mathematical Olympiad that was held in Braunschweig. Number 2, the University of Stuttgart, for some reason, was very proud of their use of the finite element method back in 1990. Number 3, this was, so in 1976, thank you all you University of Illinois graduates, in 1976, Appel and Hecken proved the 4-color theorem, and this cancellation was actually used for several years after that. And it was also obviously talked about by Martin Gardner. Okay, number 4, there's the Mathematical Centrum in Amsterdam. They put out a lot of meter cancels. I thought this one was cool because it used an integral sign. They had a lot with summation signs as well. Number 5, here, some platonic solids. So this is University in Milan. This is their symbol. I'm not sure why they chose an octahedron. And again, Martin talked about the 5 platonic solids. An icosahedron. So viruses, I don't know anything about virology, but viruses apparently take on icosahedral shapes. So here was an institute for virology in Germany that used the icosahedron. 7, here's a cube, although it's kind of a impossible figure sort of cube, also a platonic solid. Here's another impossible figure. Vinkies is a now defunct packaging company in the Netherlands. We move on to Mobius strips. Here was a company, Delta. They tried to use a stylized delta for their symbol, but they have a 3-twist Mobius strip. And again, Martin talked about Mobius bands. Many of us have seen this recycle sign, so this was used also as a meter stamp, and it's kind of a stylized 3-twist Mobius strip. This is one of my favorites. It's Escher, and if you know, we all have this feeling that Escher is like somehow related to math, but you know, since Martin talked about it, it's good at this conference. Then we have this, this sort of optical illusion, which way do the cubes go? We saw this earlier, and Martin talked about ambiguity. This is really cool. This inequality, it basically says that the function of the average is less than or equal to the average of the function by a Danish mathematician, so they use that. Then these last two are my two coolest ones. This was in 2022, celebrating Math Day in China. You can see pi, you can see an icosahedron, you can see the first 4 perfect numbers. And then my last one was from Mathematics Day this year in China, where you see a Klein bottle, you see Euler's identity, you see a very slowly convergent series for pi, and you see 2 to the Aleph null, which is the next order of infinity. And as I said, I lost my dollar, but thank you for your attention and indulging me.